今だよ。君の力を僕にちょうだい。だけ一緒に行こう。溢れ出したエロとソフトな世界を目指す。
Hello again, Carmen Ryder here, back with another commentary. Now you probably have a couple of questions, like why am I using gameplay instead of my normal stills? Well, it's because I'm not going to cover a video like I usually do, where I play the video, pause it, then talk about it. This time I'm just gonna overall cover said video. And why is that, you may ask? Well, because the video is 2 hours long and filled to the brim with points that are repeated over and over. So I don't want to repeat myself for 2 hours. And given that I won't be doing this in my normal style, I still want something on the screen to look at that isn't just myself on my purple background doing poses / making faces. So, gameplay it is. Now you may be asking, why the meme at the beginning? Well, it's because my girlfriend has been requesting I do this, and I'm a woman of my word. Today we're looking at Your Movie Sucks' video on Kimba. For this video, I'll split it into different segments and different points Your Movie Sucks makes in this video, and analyze them one by one. Anyways, let's get into it. Now, the main point Your Movie Sucks makes is that The Lion King isn't a ripoff of Kimba. To which, he is correct. So why do I bring this up, you may ask? It's because Your Movie Sucks doesn't understand the argument that is actually being made. The actual argument being made is the bias towards smaller adaptations / movies and Disney. Now, you all know a lot of what Disney makes is adaptation of public domain properties. However, there was a time in the 90s / 80s and so on where people made similar adaptations or works to Disney. But those works were dismissed because the general public considered them Disney rip-offs. Don't get me wrong, there are actual rip-offs of Disney movies, but a lot of them weren't the case. For example, Mock of the Oak Tree, or Saban's Adventures of Pinocchio if you're from the US. Now, at first glance, you might consider this a ripoff of the Disney movie. However, if you actually watch the show, you'll see that the two are just barely similar outside of source material. But because normies are more familiar with Disney, people would call it a ripoff at face value. What everyone's trying to say is if something like Mock is considered a ripoff, then by their logic, The Lion King should also be considered a ripoff. Okay, it's Why? Why does this always happen? What did I do to deserve this? Why does this always happen? Every time I do a video on something that seems perfectly non-political, it ends up being something race-related. Well, time to talk about race again. Because God forbid that the normies not act like prison mate Luke every other day. Okay, so, one of the things that Your Movie Sucks mentions a couple of times is how the show contains blackface.
I even went through the manga, which supposedly this film is based on the second half of, and yeah, it's not there either. It was mostly just blackface. Now you're probably wondering why it took so long for this show to get an English dub, and it's probably the same reason why the original manga never got an English release. Blackface. Lots and lots of blackface.
Claiming the show gives into racist stereotypes. Is this true? I mean, he shows clips from the show and manga to show these alleged racist stereotypes. So did Leo the Lion and Kimba portray blackface? No. Well, sorta. Let me explain. Back in the days before anime was really a thing in Japan, they would usually just import American cartoons and dub them in Japanese. And what was American media known for having back in the day? Blackface. However, since these cartoons were just imported to Japan, and because Japan is a country that doesn't have that many minorities, the people there, when seeing these characters, assume that's just how you draw black people. There wasn't really anyone there who was black who could point out that it was offensive. Even to this day, Japan isn't as diverse as a place like the US is. As a result, for a good while, black characters in anime were drawn this way. This quirk isn't even limited to Kimba. In the 1960s adaptation of Cyborg 009, 008 is drawn in the same way. Hell, a lot of black characters in early episodes of One Piece were drawn this way. Also, while not technically black, and more of the black character who isn't technically black but is obviously black, Oilman from Mega Man. What I'm trying to say is that because Japan wasn't familiar with foreign history as they are now, they didn't know it was offensive. Nowadays, this design quirk isn't as prevalent, since people are more aware that it could be seen as offensive, but back then they didn't know. Now I know what you're gonna say. But Carmen Ryder, what about the voices?
You be out of your mind, boss. How can you expect us to work if we don't eat? The price for meat is too high already, Mr. Boss Man.
Wanda, I'd be sorry the white lion got away.
Just forget it.
Do we stop poaching now, huh, boss, huh?
Well, that brings us to Section 3.
This is a story about a boy named Shinji, living in the flooded streets of New Orleans.
Now, this isn't much of an issue when he's reviewing Kimba, but when he gets into the segment relating to Leo the Lion, this is when it becomes a bit of a problem. He treats the dub as if it were the show itself. You may not see the issue with this, but because of the dub being specifically poor, this gives Leo the Lion an unfair disadvantage. Would you criticize the show Prison School for the Gamergate comment in the dub? No, you would criticize the dub. Would you criticize Dragon Maid as a show for that one comment Loka made in the dub? No, you would criticize the dub. So you can't criticize Leo the Lion, the anime, for its poor dub. You criticize the dub. With that out of the way, was the dub made with racist intentions towards black people, given the accents? Maybe. There's no surefire way of telling if the dubbers were stereotyping or just doing poor impressions of black people. But was Leo the Lion made with racist intentions towards black people? Absolutely not. This was just a case of Japanese people not understanding American culture. Huh. Usually here we talk about Americans not understanding Japanese culture. But now we have it the other way around. Interesting. Now I would end it here, but there's one more thing that my girlfriend wanted me to talk about.
Dear Mr. Douchebag, we all agree that you are a dumbass. Why can't you see that?
Okay, this one is one of the bigger things Your Movie Sucks brings up in the segment about Kimba. It's the episode, Too Many Elephants. Your Movie Sucks doesn't do a good job explaining that episode, but I'll play his clip first.
There's an episode where Kimba's human friend Roger, who just lives with them, his uncle shows up and he warns them that the elephants are about to be exterminated because people are fed up with the elephants, they just want them dead.
Have they changed the rules at the game preserve? Yes, they're too crowded, so they're going to destroy all bad animals to make room for good ones.
So he shows up to warn the elephants, but they just bully him a bunch because all of the elephants in the show are just massive dicks for no reason. Except this one baby elephant, I guess, who's just absolutely terrifying.
Bye. Bye. Thanks a lot. That's all right. Glad to find at least one elephant who isn't mean like Packer.
So Kimba spies on the park commissioner and confirms his suspicions.
We have tanks plus motor guns and a helicopter. I can assure you that our hunting party will see to it that every single elephant in the park is destroyed.
So Kimba goes back to the elephants and then he just gets bullied some more.
You're mean. I mean it, Pachydermis. Now I understand why the humans want to exterminate you.
He tries to warn them quite a few times, but they just won't stop bullying him. Eventually he gives up and just decides to warn Pee-wee the baby elephant instead, so he gets him to hide in this spot that's apparently closed at night. So then they just start destroying the elephants with fucking tanks and helicopters. So they drive the entire herd into a canyon so they can trap them and detonate explosives and have the canyon collapse in on top of them? What the fuck? They're all dead.
I'm sorry, elephants. I tried to save you.
Who would have thought that Kimba would have an episode about elephant genocide? What exactly is the theme in this episode?
Why couldn't all the elephants be nice like Pee-wee? Then they wouldn't have had to be exterminated.
Okay, now let me explain it properly. So the start of the episode has Dr. Pompous driving through the jungle before his car breaks down. Literally. After that, he goes on foot before almost being attacked by two hyenas, Tom and Tab. Seeing this, Kimba fights off the two hyenas, getting them away from Dr. Pompous. Eventually, Dr. Pompous makes it to the cave with all the animals and Roger Ranger. Dr. Pompous remarks that he wants Roger to come back to the city, as he feels like the jungle isn't safe. Dr. Pompous then remarks that the people in the game preserve, a place where animals are kept safe and still watched by humans, are planning to kill some of the animals there. Keep in mind, this location is separate from the jungle. This is something Your Movie Sucks fails to fully acknowledge. This may not seem like a big deal, but by failing to mention this, he indirectly puts the responsibility of the death of the elephants on Kimba's shoulders. But we'll get into that in due time. When Kimba gets to the preserve, he encounters Packer, the leader of the elephants, to which he is shown to almost kill Kimba simply for walking in his path. Fortunately, Jumbo keeps Kimba safe by hiding him in a hole that Jumbo sits on. After Packer and the rest of the elephants head off, Kimba notices that the boss of the hunting grounds is visiting, so Kimba goes to investigate. There, the boss has a meeting with the game preserve boss, discussing that the military is letting them use their tanks to easily take out half of the elephants in the preserve, specifically 400. After hearing this, Kimba goes off to find Packer and the rest of the elephants to go warn them. On his way, he sees the tanks from a distance, so he has to hurry. While searching for Packer and the others, he finds out from the other animals that the elephants aren't too nice to them either. They're even showed to be stealing food from the weaker animals. Packer is shown to have a survival of the fittest mentality. Despite this, Kimba still makes an effort to warn Packer and the rest of the elephants about the incoming tanks and weapons. Packer and the rest, however, still believe they're not in danger, and continue to hurt Kimba. Realizing that Packer and the rest can't be saved, he goes to take Jumbo to a hut nearby to be safe from the hunters. During this time, Dr. Pompous and Roger go with Harley and Tonga to the preserve to discuss the problem with the elephants, which doesn't go well. Kimba then attempts to go save the elephants one more time, but he was too late. However, he finds out that Jumbo's mom survived and offers to take her to him. But Kimba has to protect Jumbo's mom from a helicopter approaching. He manages to distract the helicopter, causing it to crash into a cliff. Afterwards, he reunites Jumbo with his mother. Cue credits. Now, as you can see, there is plenty of context that Your Movie Sucks leaves out that makes Kimba seem incompetent, when in reality, he was one of the ones to give the elephants the benefit of the doubt. Given what we've seen so far, it's clear that Your Movie Sucks was more focused on debunking the whole rip-off theory, as opposed to making a genuine review. Anyways, that's all for today. If you want more from me, you can follow my Twitter, watch my DeviantArt. If you want to support the channel, you can donate to my Patreon. If you want to talk to me directly, you can join my Discord server. And until next time, thank you to Turquoisism52 for doing that drawing of me and my girlfriend. Links to her profile will be down below.
So am I. So am I. So am I.